I am kind of moving into this, the area of my business where I have a membership. It is open. I have a very small email list. It's probably twice or maybe even 3 times the size that from when we talked last time.
Awesome.
I love the kind of engagement with email, with people when people email me or if they have questions from the podcast or from my book or whatever, or just people get on my email list because of a free guide and then we can now have a conversation. But I feel like the membership is really pretty small at this point, and I want to reach a bigger audience. And one of the ways I've thought to do that we talk about all the time in Flip Life is to teach an online class. I mean, we think of it as a webinar, but for my listeners and people on my email list, I talk about them as classes because I don't think
when we talk to teachers, everyone should do that. Don't ever use the word webinar unless you're in an online business space. Yeah. Like you should say training or seminar or free, course or something like that. That's a great point.
Yeah. And I've said to myself, okay, you can do this. And now I am trying to figure out, I've watched the classes in our community, about how to do a webinar. And it's not the mechanics of it so much as how do I put it out there and how do I best bring people back into the membership using the class that I'm going to teach.
I think that this is a deep question that we could go a lot of different ways with. But the moral of the story here is, how can we use live events, live interactions, live trainings to really seal the deal and convince people that what you're offering is the solution to their problem? Is that kind of what I'm hearing here?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, live interactions are very, very powerful. They do convert the best, whether it's you up on a stage, you doing we have live events where we do like a mastermind around a table. Those are extremely powerful. And live webinars are always really powerful because the energy is there. You don't get a second take. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things can go horribly wrong, and you're always on the edge of that. Like our last webinar was like a dumpster fire. It was an absolute disaster. It took us 30 minutes before anybody could even watch the video, and nothing was working. The audio kept going in and out.
The first 20 minutes were just technical issues. No one was saying anything except I can't hear, I can't see, I can't see the audio.
I don't know where you are. Am I in the right place? And we had done a lot of cold advertising for this, so a lot of these people didn't know who we were, and so it was kind of it was just crazy. But
I do want to say that I was there for that, and I was so totally impressed with how you guys handled it. And then the next day, I looked into the Flip Lifestyle forums, and there's this. The title is webinar / dumpster fire / disaster, and I just I love how you guys are so you're real people and you're really doing this, and sometimes
we really screw things up bad sometimes. I mean, we really do.
But yet you soldier on, right? And
That's right.
I think we all felt like we're in this together. That was my feeling, was we're in this together.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. If you don't laugh, you'll cry.
We'll make something happen. Okay.
But that does stress the point though. That webinar still converted really, really well. I think we spent about $300 in ads I spent $100 a day for 3 days. We do burst promotion for live webinars, and it still made almost $3,500 off new sales because the power of live events is so powerful. Even all of that can go wrong, but by goodness, if you deliver content and you interact with people and they see that you're real and that you're going to deliver a result, they're going to jump on board with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So doing live events, the first thing is you just got to do them. One thing I heard you say a little bit there was you've just gotten over the kind of fear to put yourself out there in this. Podcasting is a lot safer because you can mess up mid-it, Yes, so exactly. I think that the first thing you have to do moving forward is set yourself a goal to do 5 live trainings. Right now, don't worry about how good they are. Don't even worry about the content. Don't even worry about if the ads work, if you get in front of the right people, if your targeting is great. I think the first thing you have to do is just jump into them. Jocelyn was very apprehensive about webinars when we first started.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that you just have to do to get comfortable with. I've done them many times now, and I still don't know that I'm what I would say comfortable with them. But when you start doing them more often, you will feel more at ease with doing them.
Yeah. The next thing I think about if we talk about content real quick, and this is for everybody doing an online webinar, there's a tendency when we do a webinar to want to talk for an hour and a half on a training and want to give as much value and as much content, like we're almost trying to prove ourselves. You know what I'm saying, to the audience. And I think that was a mistake that we made early on, definitely when we were creating content. You can't oversatiate your audience on a webinar. You got to give one golden nugget of information, one piece of information that you know if they will do it, they'll deliver some kind of result. And do that, and then open the floor for Q&A and interaction. The more interaction you have on a live event or at a live event, even if you're in person, the more successful that's going to be for conversions and everything else, because they get to ask you what they want, and you've already proven that they delivered it. Jocelyn's got a webinar right now that's like, what's that Evergreen webinar? It's like 15 minutes, the open house one.
Yeah, it's like right at 20 minutes. And then I do a little pitch of my community, but I think the whole thing clocks in at like 22 minutes. And
oh, wow.
I mean, that's perfect. And that was another thing I was going to say. You don't even have to necessarily do live webinars. You can even do automated ones. I do that for elementary librarian a lot.
Yeah.
And in fact, we're going to start experimenting with it for Flip Lifestyle as well. So that's just another way to be able to constantly deliver content without having to constantly be live.
You just listened to an excerpt from this week's Flip Lifestyle podcast. To listen to the full podcast, complete with the show notes, photos, and links mentioned in the show, click the link on the description below. You can click on these to listen to Shane and Jocelyn answer other important questions about online business from this week's guest. For updates on future episodes, make sure you click subscribe.